Jake was 22 years old when his bank gave him a piece of plastic with a $5,000 limit on it, and he honestly thought he had just won the lottery. No job could give him that kind of money in one shot. No paycheck, nothing. But this little card in his wallet said $5,000, right there on the screen, ready to spend. So he did what a lot of us would do. He bought a new laptop, then some clothes. Then a weekend trip to Miami with his friends. Swipe, swipe, swipe. Each time, the cashier just smiled and handed the card back like nothing happened. 18 months later, Jake was sitting on his bedroom floor at 2 a.m., staring at a bill that didn't make any sense to him. He had barely bought anything new in months, but somehow, he owed more than when he started. Wait, how does that happen? How do you stop spending and still end up owing more money than before? Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what happened to Jake. And more importantly, you're going to understand something most Americans never figure out about how credit cards actually work. This isn't about telling you credit cards are evil. It's about showing you the truth, the part they don't put in the commercials. Let's go back to the beginning, because Jake's story starts the same way most people's does. When that card first arrived in the mail, Jake didn't think of it as debt. He thought of it as his money. In his head, $5,000 was sitting there waiting, just like the money in his checking account. That's the first trap almost everyone falls into, and nobody warns you about it. A credit card is not your money. It never was. It's the bank's money, and every time you swipe, you're asking them for a loan. A tiny, instant loan, approved in about 2 seconds, no paperwork, no conversation. That convenience is exactly what makes it dangerous. So let's break down what's happening behind that little piece of plastic, because once you understand this, you'll never look at a credit card the same way again. Every credit card has something called a credit limit. That's the maximum the bank will let you borrow at one time. For Jake, that number was $5,000. Every purchase gets added to your balance, basically your running tab with the bank. Once a month, the bank sends you a statement, a receipt for everything you borrowed, plus a due date, the deadline to pay it back. Here's the part nobody explains clearly. Most cards give you something called a grace period. Pay your full balance by the due date, and you pay zero extra. Not 1 cent. That's the entire secret to using a credit card for free. Pay it all, every time, and the bank makes almost nothing off you. But Jake didn't do that, and this is where things started going wrong. When his first bill came in, it said he owed $1,200. He didn't have $1,200 sitting around. But right there on the statement was a much smaller number, something called the minimum payment, just $35. Jake breathed a sigh of relief. $35. Easy. He paid it and moved on with his life. But that's not the safety net it looks like. That's the biggest trap in the entire credit card system. Let's use real numbers. Say you charge $5,000 on a card with an interest rate around 24%. Pretty normal these days. If you only pay the minimum every month and stop using the card completely, the payoff time depends on your card's exact interest rate and minimum payment formula. But depending on those numbers, it could take well over a decade to pay off, and you could end up paying thousands of dollars in interest, all because of one thing sitting quietly in the background the whole time: interest. This is where most people lose money without ever realizing it's happening. So let's actually talk about interest, because this sounds complicated but really isn't. You'll hear it called APR, which stands for annual percentage rate. Forget the fancy name. Just think of it like a rental fee for borrowed money. If your card has a 24% APR, that means for every $100 you don't pay back, the bank charges you roughly $24 a year to keep borrowing it. It doesn't feel dramatic in the moment. That's exactly why it's dangerous. It's not one big painful hit. It's a slow leak that quietly drains your money every month, for years, if you let it. And interest wasn't even the only thing eating away at Jake's balance, because here's where the real problem was only beginning. Credit card companies don't just make money off interest. They stack fees on top of fees, and most people don't notice until it's too late. Miss a due date, that's a late fee, sometimes $30 or $40, just for being a few days late. Pull cash from an ATM with your credit card. That's a cash advance fee, and it usually starts charging interest immediately. No grace period at all. Swipe your card overseas. Some cards quietly charge a foreign transaction fee on every purchase. And some even charge an annual fee just for owning them. None of these fees are illegal or secret. They're written right in the terms and conditions. Most people simply never read those terms before using the card. But none of that was even the worst part of Jake's story. About 2 years in, Jake walked into a dealership ready to sign for a car. The loan officer looked at his screen and just shook his head. Denied. Jake wasn't a criminal. He wasn't broke. So what happened? A number Jake had never once checked. His credit score. Every time he maxed out that card or paid only the minimum, the bank was quietly reporting it, and that number was dropping. A credit score is basically a report card for how you handle borrowed money, and lenders use it to decide if you're a safe bet. One of the biggest things that score watches is called credit utilization, how much of your limit you're actually using. If Jake had a $5,000 limit and kept spending $4,500 of it, banks saw a red flag. If he kept it closer to $1,000 or $1,500 and paid on time, that same card would have quietly built his score instead of wrecking it. And trust me, what happened to Jake isn't rare. Millions of Americans are making the exact same mistake without even realizing it. So here's the real question. Why would a bank hand out this much borrowed money to random 22-year-olds like Jake in the first place? This is where it stops sounding shady and starts making sense, because it's not a trick, it's a business model. Banks make money 3 ways. Interest from people who carry a balance, fees from people who miss payments or misuse the card, and a small percentage the bank takes every time you swipe at a store, called an interchange fee, which the business pays, not you. Multiply that across millions of cardholders, and you understand why credit cards are one of the most profitable products in banking. It's not a conspiracy, it's just math, and the math favors the bank when people carry a balance. But here's what changes everything. Some people use this exact same system and come out way ahead. Not because they got a special secret card. Because they play a completely different game. Wealthy people, and honestly plenty of everyday smart spenders too, follow one simple rule. Pay the entire balance, every single month, no exceptions. When you do that, that 24% interest rate becomes irrelevant, because you never owe interest in the first place. Instead, they collect the rewards. Cashback on groceries and gas, points toward flights and hotels. Every on-time payment builds their credit score, which later gets them lower interest rates on car loans and mortgages, saving thousands down the road. On top of that, credit cards offer fraud protection a debit card doesn't. So if your card info gets stolen, you're not the one losing real bank money while it gets sorted out. Same card, same bank, same system Jake used. Completely different outcome, all based on one habit, paying in full. So let's talk about the mistakes that trap most Americans, because chances are, you've made at least one without realizing it. Impulse buying, treating available credit like free spending money, missing due dates, even by accident, maxing out cards, which damages your credit score. Only ever paying the minimum, letting interest pile up for years, opening too many cards too fast. And the biggest one, ignoring your statement, never actually reading what you're being charged for. If that sounds familiar, don't panic, because fixing it is simple. Set up autopay for at least the minimum, so you're never late. Better yet, pay the full balance every month, even if it's tight. Keep your usage under 30% of your limit if you can, it helps your credit score. And actually open your statement and read it once a month. 5 minutes a month can save you thousands over the years. As for Jake, it took him almost 4 years, but he eventually paid off that balance completely. He went back to that same dealership, applied again, and this time the screen didn't say denied. Today he still uses that same credit card, same bank, same $5,000 limit. The difference is, he pays it off in full every single month, and instead of losing money to interest, he earns cash back on nearly everything he buys. A credit card was never free money, and it was never the enemy either. It's just a tool, and like every tool, it can build something or it can destroy something, depending entirely on the hand that's holding it. Somewhere out there right now, someone your age is opening their first credit card, staring at a limit, and thinking it's a gift. It's not a gift, it's a test, and most people don't realize they're taking it until the results show up on a screen at the worst possible moment. The bank never decides which version of that story you become. You do, one swipe at a time.